My wife dropped her bomb on a Thursday evening. No warning, no build-up, just pure calculated timing. She stood there in our living room, hands on her hips, with that look she gets when she thinks she's about to teach me a lesson. "I need space to think," she announced, like she was declaring war. "The girls and I are going to that spa resort upstate for a week. I need clarity about us, about everything." I set down my dinner and looked at her, really looked at her. The way she stood there, so confident, so sure I'd just nod and accept whatever she decided to throw at me. "Space to think," I repeated slowly. "And when exactly did you plan this little retreat? Does it matter? Look, we both know things haven't been great between us lately. I need time away from all this." She gestured around our home like it was some kind of prison. "When I get back, we'll talk about where we go from here." That was the moment, right there. The moment I realized my wife wasn't asking for space. She was telling me she was taking it. And more than that, she expected me to just sit here like some faithful dog, waiting for her to come back and decide my fate. "So let me get this straight," I said, standing up. "You're leaving for a week to think about our marriage, and I'm supposed to just, what? Wait here? Keep the home fires burning while you figure out if you want to stay married?" She actually rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. It's just a week. 7 days. Surely you can handle being alone for 7 days." The condescension in her voice was thick enough to cut with a knife. This wasn't about needing space. This was about control. This was about showing me who really held the power in this relationship. "You know what's funny?" I asked, walking closer to her. "You're right. 7 days isn't very long at all." Something in my tone made her pause. Maybe it was too calm. Maybe it was too agreeable. But for just a second, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. "Good," she said, but her voice had lost some of its edge. "I'm glad you understand. This could be good for both of us." I nodded thoughtfully. "Oh, I think it's going to be very good for both of us." "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow morning. Early. My sister is picking me up at 8. Tomorrow morning. Less than 12 hours. She'd planned this whole thing, probably for weeks, and was giving me less than half a day's notice. The disrespect was staggering. "Perfect," I said. "That gives me tonight to really think about this space concept." She looked relieved, probably thinking I was finally seeing things her way. "Exactly. Sometimes we need distance to appreciate what we have." As she walked past me toward the stairs, I called out, "Hey, one quick question." She turned back. "What? This space you need, is it just from me or from everything? Like joint accounts, shared responsibilities, all that messy married stuff?" Her forehead wrinkled slightly. "What do you mean?" "Nothing major. Just wondering how much space you really need. But don't worry about it. Go pack. Big decisions require proper luggage." That night, as she bustled around upstairs, pulling clothes from our closet and chattering excitedly on the phone with her sisters about their girls' week, I sat in my home office. Our home office. And I started making my own plans. Because she was absolutely right about one thing. Sometimes we do need distance to appreciate what we have. And sometimes we need distance to realize what we don't want to keep. 7 days. She thought 7 days would teach me a lesson about missing her, about needing her, about being grateful for whatever scraps of attention she decided to throw my way when she got back. But 7 days works both ways. 7 days is enough time for a lot of things. Enough time to think clearly. Enough time to make decisions. Enough time to find your own space. As I listened to her upstairs, humming while she packed for her enlightening retreat, I couldn't help but smile. She had no idea that her little power play was about to backfire in ways she couldn't even imagine. Space to think. What a brilliant idea. Friday morning came with the sound of car doors slamming and muffled goodbyes. I watched from the kitchen window as she loaded her oversized suitcase into her sister's SUV. "A week at a spa," she'd said. That suitcase could have held clothes for a month. After they drove away, the house felt different. Not empty, liberated. Like I could finally breathe without someone constantly monitoring my oxygen intake. I gave it exactly 1 hour before I started making calls. First call was to my buddy from college who'd gone into family law. We'd kept in touch over the years, mostly fantasy football trash talk, but I knew he was good at what he did. Well, he said when I explained the situation. The old "I need space" routine. Let me guess. She picked the timing, the duration, and expects you to just wait around. Pretty much. Classic power move. Here's the thing though, space works both ways. While she's off finding herself at some overpriced resort, you're completely free to find yourself too. Legally speaking, of course. He walked me through my options. Joint accounts, shared assets, what I could and couldn't do while she was gone. The conversation was enlightening in ways I hadn't expected. Document everything, he advised. Financial records, communications, any evidence of, well, anything that might be relevant later. You'd be surprised what people leave lying around when they think they're in control. After we hung up, I started looking. Really looking. Not snooping. Just paying attention to things I'd been too trusting to notice before. Our shared tablet was still logged into her social media accounts. Funny how someone who needs space to think had been planning girls' trips and posting about exciting changes for the past 3 weeks. The messages with her sisters were particularly interesting. Finally doing it, one read. About time you put him in his place. Another gem. A week away will show him how much he needs you. Men are so predictable. But the real prize was buried in her messages with someone I didn't recognize. Someone whose contact info was saved under a woman's name, but whose profile picture clearly showed a man. Can't wait to see you at the resort, the last message read. This week is going to change everything. I screenshot everything. Not out of anger. Anger makes you sloppy. Out of clarity. Pure, crystalline clarity about exactly what kind of space my wife was really looking for. Next, I called the bank. Funny thing about joint accounts, either party can make changes. I didn't close anything, didn't steal anything, but I did transfer my direct deposits to a new individual account. My money, my choice where it goes. Then I called our credit card companies. Again, perfectly legal when you're an authorized user. I simply removed myself from the accounts. If she wanted space for me, she could have space for my credit backing her purchases too. The internet bill, cable, utilities, all in my name. All paid from my accounts. I didn't cancel anything. Not yet, but I did make some calls to understand my options. By lunchtime, I had a complete picture of our financial situation. More importantly, I had a complete picture of exactly how much her space was going to cost when she realized that space comes with responsibilities. Around 2 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from her. Hope you're not moping around the house. Spa is amazing. Really gives you perspective on what matters. Miss you. Face blowing kiss. Miss me. Right. I'm sure she was missing me terribly while planning her week with her mystery resort companion. I texted back, glad you're getting that perspective. I'm getting some perspective of my own. Enjoy the spa. Short, sweet, and absolutely truthful. I was definitely getting perspective. The rest of the afternoon was productive. I made an appointment with a financial advisor to understand how to protect my assets. I researched moving companies, not because I was planning to leave, but because I wanted to understand my options. Most importantly, I started documenting our marital problems with dates and details. Amazing how much clearer your memory becomes when you're not walking on eggshells anymore. That evening, I ordered pizza and spread everything out on the dining room table. Bank statements, phone records, social media screenshots, a timeline of her behavior over the past few months. It painted quite a picture. My wife thought she was teaching me a lesson about appreciation, about knowing my place, about being grateful for whatever attention she decided to give me when she got back from her thinking retreat. But the only lesson being learned was mine, and it wasn't about missing her. It was about realizing how much better life could be when you stop accepting disrespect disguised as marriage. 6 more days. She had 6 more days to enjoy her space and her perspective and her mystery resort companion. 6 more days to plan whatever speech she was going to give me about our relationship when she got back. But 6 days was also enough time for me to finish getting my own perspective. And my perspective was becoming very, very clear. Space to think, indeed. Saturday morning, I woke up with absolute clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when you stop making excuses for someone else's behavior and start taking action. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, and started making the calls that would change everything. First call was to my brother. He'd been through his own divorce 3 years ago and had landed on his feet with a nice house and a spare bedroom. When I explained the situation, he didn't hesitate. You can stay here as long as you need, he said. Matter of fact, I've been telling you for months that you deserve better. About time you listened. Second call was to a moving company. Not just any moving company, one that specialized in quick, discreet relocations. The kind of service people use when they need to move fast and move completely. We can have a truck there Monday morning, the coordinator told me. How much are we moving? I looked around the house, really looked at it. Most of the furniture we'd bought together, But my personal items, my clothes, my office equipment, my tools, that was all mine. My contributions to this house went far beyond furniture anyway. Everything that belongs to me. I said, I'll have a list ready. Third call was back to my lawyer friend. I needed to understand exactly what I could and couldn't take and how to do this properly. As long as it's yours, you can take it, he confirmed. Clothes, personal items, anything you owned before marriage, anything gifted specifically to you. Just document everything with photos and receipts where possible. The rest of Saturday was inventory day. I went through every room, every closet, every drawer, making lists and taking pictures. My computer, my books, my gym equipment, my tools, my clothes, my personal documents. Years of my life, itemized and cataloged. In the process, I found more interesting things. Like the credit card statements she'd hidden showing charges to expensive restaurants on days when she told me she was working late. Or the receipt for lingerie I'd never seen her wear, purchased 2 weeks ago. Each discovery was another confirmation that I was making the right choice. Sunday brought more revelations. While organizing my home office, I found our insurance policies. Turned out I was the primary beneficiary on everything, and more importantly, I was the policy holder on our homeowner's insurance. That led to a very educational conversation with our insurance agent about what happens when policy holders relocate. Apparently, there are quite a few steps involved in transferring coverage. Steps that require proper notice and documentation. I also discovered that our mortgage was solely in my name. She'd never been added because her credit wasn't good enough when we bought the house. I'd forgotten that detail over the years, but the paperwork didn't lie. The more I learned about our actual legal and financial situation, the more I realized how much power I'd been giving away unnecessarily. This wasn't just her house that I was lucky to live in. This was my house that I'd been graciously sharing. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. Her sister's number. "Hey stranger," came my wife's voice, artificially cheerful. "Just wanted to check in. How's your weekend going?" "Productive," I said. "Very productive. How's the spa?" "Oh, it's wonderful. So relaxing. Really helping me think about what I want." "That's great. I've been doing some thinking too." A pause. "Oh, about what?" "About space. About what we both really need. About how sometimes change is exactly what a situation requires." Another pause, longer this time. "That sounds positive." "It is positive. Very positive. I think this week apart is going to be exactly what we both needed." "Good," she said, but she sounded less certain than before. "I'm glad you're being so mature about this." Mature. That was rich, coming from someone who'd planned a secret vacation with a mystery man and called it marriage counseling. "I'm being realistic," I said. "Sometimes the most mature thing you can do is accept when things need to change." After we hung up, I finished my preparations. Monday morning, the movers would arrive. Monday afternoon, I'd be living at my brother's house. Monday evening, this house would be exactly what she'd asked for: space. I spent Sunday night packing my personal items and writing a letter. Not an angry letter, not a dramatic letter, just a clear, honest explanation of what I discovered and what I decided. The letter was 3 pages long and covered everything. The financial arrangements I'd made, the evidence I found, and most importantly, my decision to give her exactly what she'd asked for, all the space she could possibly want. I sealed it in an envelope and left it on the kitchen counter where she'd be sure to find it. As I went to bed that last night in our house, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Real, genuine peace. She'd wanted to teach me a lesson about appreciating what I had. Mission accomplished. I'd learned to appreciate myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't. For more days until she came home to her space. For more days until she discovered that actions have consequences and games have winners and losers. I was done playing her game. Starting Monday, we'd be playing by different rules entirely. Monday morning came with the rumble of a moving truck pulling into my driveway at exactly 8 a.m. Professional, efficient, and most importantly, fast. The crew chief was a guy named Carlos who'd clearly done this type of job before. Discreet relocation, he called it. We get in, get out, leave no trace except what's supposed to be gone. By noon, my entire life was loaded into that truck. Every book, every piece of clothing, every tool, every personal possession that had made this house feel like home. What remained was exactly what it had always been, her space, decorated with her things, financed by my work. The irony wasn't lost on me. I did a final walkthrough with my camera, documenting exactly what I'd left behind. The furniture we'd bought together, the appliances, the decorations she'd chosen. I wasn't taking anything that could be disputed later. This wasn't about being vindictive, it was about being strategic. Before I left, I made 3 final calls. First to the utility companies, giving them my forwarding address and instructions to mail final bills to my lawyer. Second to the internet provider, canceling the service effective Friday, the day she'd return. Third to our home security company, terminating the contract. If she wanted space, she could have all the space she needed, along with all the responsibilities that came with it. By 2 p.m., I was at my brother's house, watching Carlos and his crew unload my life into storage in a spare bedroom. It felt like emerging from a long tunnel into daylight. My phone buzzed around 3. A text from her. Missing you today. Spa treatments are amazing, but the bed feels empty without you. Face blowing a kiss, can't wait to come home and start fresh. The audacity was breathtaking. She was literally sharing a resort with another man while texting me about missing me. But I'd learned something important over the past few days. Her words meant nothing. Her actions told the real story. I texted back, glad you're enjoying yourself. The house is very quiet without you. Completely true. The house was quiet, mostly because it was now completely empty of anything that belonged to me. She responded quickly. Are you lonely? Just a few more days, baby. Not lonely at all. Actually enjoying the silence. Very peaceful. That seemed to give her pause. The next text didn't come for an hour. Peaceful? That's a weird way to describe missing your wife, lol. Just appreciating the space to think, like you suggested. It's been very enlightening. Enlightening how? I stared at that message for a long time. She was fishing, probably sensing that something had shifted in my responses. But she was 3 days away from finding out exactly how enlightening this week had been. You were right about needing clarity. I'm getting plenty of that. Good. That's what this is all about. We'll both be better for it. Tuesday brought more texts, but they had a different tone. Less confident. More probing. What have you been doing with all your free time? Organizing. Making lists. Planning ahead. Lists of what? Things that need to change. You'd be surprised how clear everything becomes when you have space to think. You're being cryptic. Everything okay? Everything's perfect. Just following your advice about using this time to gain perspective. Wednesday, the messages became more frequent. Haven't heard from you much. Missing our conversations. Just giving you the space you needed. Didn't want to interrupt your thinking process. You can still text me. I'm not on some silent retreat, lol. I know. Just respecting the boundaries you set. What boundaries? I never said we couldn't talk, but she had. Maybe not in those exact words, but the message had been clear. She was taking space, and I was supposed to wait quietly until she decided what she wanted to do with our marriage. Thursday brought the first real crack in her confidence. Called the house earlier, but it went straight to voicemail. Everything okay with the phone? Phone's fine. Just been staying busy. Busy with what? It's not like you to not answer the house phone. Lots of errands. Had to take care of some things while you were gone. What kind of things? Adult things. Bills, accounts, making sure everything's handled properly. That's good, I guess. Looking forward to hearing about it when I get home. Oh, you'll definitely hear about it. Friday morning, her text started early. Coming home today? So excited to see you and start our fresh chapter. Have a safe drive. That's it. No excitement. No, can't wait to see you. I'm sure today will be very memorable. You're acting weird. Did something happen this week? Lots of things happened. Just like you wanted, very enlightening week. Should I be worried? I looked at that message for a long time. Should she be worried? That was an interesting question coming from someone who'd spent the week at a resort with another man while playing mind games with her husband. Not worried. Just prepared for consequences. Consequences of what? Of choices. Of actions. Of treating people like they're disposable. What are you talking about? I'm coming straight home. We need to talk. Yes, we definitely need to talk. But by the time she got home, talking would be the least of her concerns. Because her space was about to become permanent, and her consequences were about to become very, very real. Friday afternoon, I positioned myself at the coffee shop across from our street. Perfect view of the driveway, close enough to see everything, far enough away to avoid the initial explosion. At exactly 4:30, her sister's SUV pulled into the driveway. I watched my wife climb out, looking refreshed and confident. She'd probably spent the drive home planning her big speech about what she'd realized during her week away. She grabbed her oversized suitcase and walked to the front door like she owned the world. Key in the lock, doors swinging open, and then, even from across the street, I could see her freeze in the doorway. The house wasn't destroyed. It wasn't vandalized. It was just empty. Empty of everything that had made it ours instead of just hers. Empty of me. She disappeared inside for about 10 minutes. I imagined her walking through room after room, seeing the gaps where my things used to be. My office empty. Our bedroom, half the closet bare. The garage, my tools gone, my workbench gone, my car gone. When she came back outside, she had her phone pressed to her ear. Even at this distance, I could see the panic in her body language. My phone buzzed. "Where are you?" I let it ring, then ring again. On the third call, I answered. "Hey, how was the drive back? Where are you? Where are your things? What did you do?" "I'm getting coffee. My things are where they belong." And I did exactly what you suggested. I used the week to gain clarity. "This isn't funny. Get home right now." "I am home. This is where I live now. You have that house all to yourself, just like you wanted." Silence. "Then, you moved out." "I found my own space." Isn't that what this week was about? Both of us figuring out what we really want. That's not. I never said, you can't just leave. Actually, I can. Turns out that's one of the beautiful things about space. It goes both ways. I could hear her breathing heavy on the other end. "This is insane. Come home. We need to talk about this like adults." We did talk about it. You talked about needing space, and I listened. You talked about gaining perspective, and I gained some. You talked about taking time to think about what you wanted, and I thought about what I wanted too. What about our marriage? What about it? You spent the week with another man at a resort while telling me you needed space to think about us. I spent the week thinking about whether I wanted to be married to someone who thinks that's acceptable behavior. Another silence. Longer this time. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the messages on our shared tablet. The ones to your friend about how this week was going to change everything. The restaurant charges on days you said you were working late. The credit card bill for lingerie I never saw. Should I continue? You went through my private things. I went through our shared devices and accounts. Amazing what you find when you actually pay attention instead of just trusting blindly. I could hear her starting to cry. Not the sad kind of crying. The angry, frustrated kind when someone realizes their game is over. "You're being cruel. I made a mistake, but we can work through this. I'm being realistic." And you didn't make a mistake. You made a series of calculated choices. The mistake was mine, thinking I had to accept disrespect just because we were married. So that's it. You're just giving up on us. I'm not giving up on anything. I'm choosing self-respect over convenience. I'm choosing dignity over desperation. I'm choosing to stop accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Harder. More calculating. "Fine. You want to play hardball? We'll see how you feel when you're paying alimony and half of everything you've worked for." Already talked to a lawyer. Turns out adultery affects those calculations quite a bit. Also turns out that when the house is in my name and the accounts are in my name, things get complicated for the person who decided to take unauthorized vacations with unauthorized companions. "You bastard. You planned this whole thing." I responded to your plan. You wanted to teach me a lesson about knowing my place and being grateful for whatever attention you decided to give me. Lesson learned. I learned I deserved better. Through the coffee shop window, I could see her pacing in our driveway, phone still pressed to her ear. "I'm not letting you destroy our life over one stupid trip. You already destroyed it. I'm just refusing to pretend otherwise anymore. But hey, look on the bright side. You got exactly what you asked for. All the space you could possibly want. This isn't over." Yes, it is. The divorce papers will be served Monday morning, along with the documentation of everything I found this week. Your space is now permanent. I hung up and watched her throw her phone at the ground. Then she kicked her suitcase. Then she sat down on the front steps and put her head in her hands. Part of me felt sorry for her, but that part was small and getting smaller. She'd gambled our marriage on a power play and lost. She'd thought she could manipulate me into begging for her to come back, into accepting whatever crumbs she decided to throw my way. Instead, she'd come home to find exactly what she'd asked for: space. All the space in the world, along with all the responsibilities, all the bills, and all the consequences of her choices. I finished my coffee and drove to my brother's house. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and paperwork and the formal end of our marriage. But tonight, for the first time in months, I was going to sleep peacefully. She'd wanted to teach me about appreciation. Mission accomplished. I'd learned to appreciate myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't. The weekend was a masterclass in desperation. My phone buzzed constantly, calls, texts, voicemails that ranged from apologetic to furious to bargaining and back to furious again. Saturday morning, please come home. We can fix this. I'll explain everything. Saturday afternoon, you're destroying our family over nothing. This is insane. Saturday night, I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Please don't throw away 7 years of marriage. Sunday morning, my lawyer says you can't just steal everything and disappear. I answered exactly none of them. There was nothing left to discuss. Monday morning brought the knock on her door. Process server, delivering divorce papers, and a restraining order preventing her from contacting me except through lawyers. My attorney had been thorough. Monday afternoon, my phone rang from her sister's number. "You vindictive piece of garbage," came my wife's voice. "How dare you have me served like some criminal? You violated the restraining order by calling me," I said calmly. "This conversation is being recorded. Continue at your own legal risk." She hung up immediately. Tuesday brought a call from my lawyer. She's hired representation. Wants to negotiate. What's her opening position? Half of everything. Alimony. And she keeps the house. I actually laughed. Counteroffer. She gets nothing except whatever she can prove she contributed financially. I keep everything that's in my name, which is basically everything. She's not going to like that. She should have thought about that before she decided to test how much disrespect I'd tolerate. The negotiation lasted 3 weeks. Her lawyer tried every angle: emotional distress, abandonment, breach of marital contract. My lawyer countered with documented adultery, fraud, and evidence of her planning this space manipulation for months. The text messages were particularly damaging. Planning a week away with another man while telling me it was about thinking about our marriage didn't play well in family court. In the end, she got exactly what she'd contributed to our marriage, which turned out to be remarkably little. No alimony, no claim to my house, no access to accounts she'd never funded. She walked away with her personal belongings, her car payment, and a hard lesson about consequences. 3 months later, I was officially divorced and living in my house again. Not our house, my house. The difference was more than just legal. I kept the furniture we'd bought together, but everything else changed. New paint, new arrangement, new energy. It felt like waking up from a long, exhausting dream. My brother stopped by one evening about 6 months after everything was finalized. "How are you doing with all this?" he asked. "Honestly, better than I've been in years." "Any regrets?" I thought about that. Only one. I regret not doing it sooner. What if she'd come back from that spa trip and been genuinely sorry? What if she'd actually wanted to work things out? Then she wouldn't have spent the week with another man. People who want to work on their marriage don't take secret vacations with mystery dates and call it needing space. He nodded thoughtfully. Fair point. What about dating? Getting back out there? Eventually. But first I'm enjoying something I forgot existed. What's that? Peace. Actual peace. Not walking on eggshells. Not wondering what mood she'll be in. Not accepting disrespect because it's easier than fighting. Just peace. A year later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked tired, older somehow. Living alone had apparently been more challenging than she'd expected. "Hey," she said awkwardly. "How are you?" "Good. Really good. You?" "I'm managing. Look, I know it's been a long time, but I've been thinking about what happened. Maybe we moved too fast with the divorce. Maybe we could have worked things out if we tried harder." I looked at her for a long moment. The same face, the same voice, but none of the power over me she used to have. "You know what's funny?" I said. "I think you're right. We could have worked things out." Her eyes lit up slightly. "If you'd wanted to work things out. If you'd been honest about what you were really doing that week. If you'd respected our marriage enough to not lie and manipulate and cheat. But you didn't want to work things out. You wanted to prove you could control me." The light in her eyes faded. The space you asked for turned out to be exactly what we both needed. You got to see what life was like without me supporting you. I got to see what life was like without someone constantly testing my boundaries. And I like my version better. I pushed my cart past her and headed toward the checkout. Behind me, I heard her call out, "I hope you're happy." I turned back one last time. "I am. I really am. I hope you find whatever it is you were looking for that week." Walking to my car, I realized something. She'd succeeded in teaching me exactly what she'd set out to teach. She'd shown me what I really had, what I really deserved, and what I was willing to accept. The lesson just hadn't gone the way she'd planned. Her space had taught me that some distances are meant to be permanent. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is refuse to shrink down to fit into someone else's idea of what you should accept. 7 days. That's all it had taken for both of us to get exactly what we'd asked for. She'd wanted space to think. I'd found space to live.